Today we'll talk about setting the bar high and using sports to draw attention to higher purposes. Now, this combination took our guest today, Marc Hauser, on a quest all the way up into the jet stream in a hot air balloon, some 7 kilometers up in the sky. So stay tuned. This is Athlete Story, and I'm your host, Anja Bolbjerg, former world top 10 skier in moguls and freeride skiing, now way into life after sports. I invite you to join other former athletes and me here on Athlete Story for resources to help you put your former sports career to work for you in life after sports.
He is jumping into a wind speed of 140 kilometers per hour. That's hurricane force.
Hello, Marc. Welcome to the Athlete Story podcast.
Hello, Anja. Thank you very much for having me.
How did you find out that you wanted to fly the jet stream without an airplane, but just you?
I started skydiving when I was about 19 years old, 20 years old, and I came from flying airplanes. So I was flying gliders and small single-engine airplanes. And I was really hooked by skydiving because that's a real sensation of flying, because you don't have anything around you. You just fly like a bird. I realized that I could be quite fast. I reached a speed of 304 kilometers per hour on ground speed. So I measure my speed on the ground like a train or like a car. We do not drive these speeds, especially not in Switzerland on our highways. And so I thought that's a good number. Then I was ranked number one at the list for all the wingsuit flyers. But I do not wear a wingsuit, so I just have a normal skydiving suit. It was my only option to file my data to the wingsuit guys. And then I was ranked number one for about 18 months. And then suddenly I dropped down this list. And I asked myself, what happened? Did they improve their wingsuits? But they didn't. So I just dropped down the list because all these guys were taking tailwind to help them accelerate their flights. And that was one thing we never did before. And so I thought, okay, let's catch the best tailwind we can find, and that's a jet stream. I like this storytelling opportunity of something, a new phenomenon. And I think to bring down the energy from high altitude wind power, that was absolutely new for me. I just had no clue about it. We have to find new solutions for our planet. And this could be one of them. Not sure if it's the solution, but it's of course, it could be a great opportunity to bring down the energy. And that was the second line. So there's an adventure line in the story, we can tell, and there is this clean tech and new energy line. And I really love this combination between adventure and science.
It's fair to call skydiving a pretty decadent sport, I guess. You go up with a plane just to throw yourself down. And you're like adding a noble purpose to it.
You're absolutely right. So it's the most ridiculous thing you can do anyway. So you go up and you land at the same spot over and over again. And of course, it's absolutely not clean tech. We burn so much fuel, and so it's not the clean tech sport you can do. And then this combination with this new opportunity to bring down the energy, that was this new aspect I really liked, because I think when you have the possibility to tell a story to a wide audience, and BBC World News was in from the beginning because they could see the combination of adventure and technology, which could be a really good storytelling thing. And I think you have to put a kind of higher sense in your story if there is a higher sense.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad my part of the story is over and their part is just starting. And it's all about bringing the energy down.
On the globe, we have dozens of little startups, and they are going into this field of bringing down the energy with sort of kites. So maybe it's fabrics, maybe it's planes. And sometimes it's the plane itself creating the energy with the propeller in front and bringing down the electricity through the tether, which is mounted on the ground. The good thing, if you compare that to the ground-based windmills, is that you do not need all this concrete, heavy stuff to build one of these big windmills. You just have a small container, and that contains everything you need, and it's mobile. You can just put it in a remote area where we had an earthquake, and you can just tap into the high altitude winds, because up there usually we have strong winds. If we can tap into these unknown region, I think it's a wonderful story. We were running on a shoestring budget. We didn't have any kind of proper sponsorship money. It was just speakers agreements. So I speak in front of audiences for companies, and we had speakers agreements with private banks. So now I'm giving all these speeches for the rest of my life with these banks. So that was basically the deal. But I was really struggling. We did it anyway. We had just so many people just working on a zero budget because they were fascinated by the project and they just wanted to be a part of the team, which was wonderful for us. I had experience of flying, flying aerobatics on airplanes, and I had a bit of experience as a skydiver, but not as much as a real professional skydivers they have. And so my preparation basically was in the summertime jumping down from small bridges here in Bern, which sounds a bit of ridiculous because you can't compare a 3-meter bridge with a 7,400 meter hot air balloon exit. It's the first 1 or 2 seconds, which are really important, because then you should be stable, then you can fly. At the end, it will turn out into a free fall anyway. If you tumble in the beginning, then it looks bad, and you consume so much altitude, which is a shame because you want to use this altitude to fly. And then there was the psychological side of going into this situation and playing it over and over again, as you did or do as a skier, and that's a really good help. And if you just go to the mountain and you go down as a skier without any preparation in your mind, then you're lost, and I think you cannot complete your task. So that was a critical thing, to really be prepared in your mind, to have a good exit, stable exit at the balloon jump. And then there was the technical side, because we really had to check and develop all the systems on our own. As long as you have room temperature, the fabrics of your suit, that's fine, you can just move. But at these temperatures, you just really feel trapped inside a deep frozen suit. There was always this combination between the actual jump itself, the training jumps, to test the equipment, the new solutions, and then the mindset to really be able to jump out of this hot air balloon. And then we had the balloon pilot. Steve Griffin was our only option in Australia to bring us up into jet stream level, because usually they do not climb as high. And Steve was the only one we could convince to fly with us, crazy guys from Switzerland, to altitudes of jet stream level. And he did a fantastic job, because we had to constantly change plans. We were really chasing this jet stream like tornado chasers in the United States. We were driving day and night for days to find the best spot to really be underneath this jet stream, and then to climb up with a rented balloon system. We wanted to have endurance for everyone in the balloon. And we approached Lloyd's, where you can really find endurances for everything, even for your butt or whatever you want. You can find it. And they told us, okay, you have to pay $50,000. And in case you will die, you get $500,000. And we told them, no, our full budget is about $50,000. And so it was not possible to get any coverage. Yeah, that was a kind of a nightmare, especially when things went wrong.
And some things didn't actually go quite as you planned.
Yeah. So the one thing, we had a leaking problem with the oxygen system. We had a great company from Germany. They built a fantastic system, but we knew we could have some problems with freezing system because we had these new developments. So, but that was not the real problem. The real problem was the combination of this leaking oxygen, and the flame came down. The flame just disappeared from the hot air balloon, which is a bad thing because it's called hot air balloon. And if you don't have a flame, it's just the heat is gone and you just drop down. not like a stone, but you really have an impressive descent of the balloon system. And that happened at the same time.
While I was in free fall, I just had all the problems in mind, which were really kicking in now for the balloon crew.
Where you're about to jump, you actually don't know if the two guys in the balloon are going to survive.
I was really sure they would not make it. I had to jump because the balloon system was already descending on a fast rate, so faster than 1,000 feet per minute, which is quite fast already. And I was still consuming their oxygen in the balloon. So I had my own system. So it was really good if I would just leave, because then what would be one guy less to breathe the oxygen, which was already on a constant flow, losing all the oxygen. And so I had to jump there, but I knew that these guys in the balloon, they would just survive for maybe 1 or 2 minutes more. Because we made this training in the low pressure chamber at the Swiss military. And we knew that at these altitudes of higher than 7,000 meters, you just have 1-2 minutes where your brain still works and you can fulfill your tasks. And after this time, you just turn nuts. You do silly thing, you jump out of the balloon, whatever. You start singing. I was starting singing in the experiment in the low pressure chamber.
Kind of like narcosis if you're diving in the sea.
Yeah, it's quite similar. But and then the problem again is it doesn't feel. You don't feel stressed. You just feel drunk. It's kind of funny. So. And then you start to shiver, and when you start to shiver, your muscle tension it's right before you fall unconscious. If you have an unconscious moment in hypoxia, you die. And for me, that was clear that the two guys, now they will die in the balloon, but at least they wouldn't feel the hard impact on the ground. So that was my mindset. And at the same time, I should be as fast as possible, break my own silly record, which didn't make any sense in the moment of the jump, because I knew I just killed two of my friends. So it was really one of the hardest moments in my life, when I knew that I was responsible for these guys, and these guys, they would die now. And then I completed my flight. I opened the parachute, I landed, and I couldn't find the balloon up there because it was a blue envelope of the balloon in the blue sky. I just couldn't see it. It was too far away. Yeah. Then I got a telephone call 15 minutes, 20 minutes later, and that was Steve Griffin, the balloon pilot, on the phone. And my first thought was, oh, they do have cell phones in heaven. Because I knew he must be dead, and he was laughing. He was friendly. He was, "Hey, Mark, how are you? Is it really you? Is it you, Steve?" And I said, "Yeah." And we were so lucky we could ignite the fire when we were going down in this rapid descent. Then the mixture of the oxygen and the air, the pressure was fine again. We could just ignite the fire. We still don't know how, but there was a fire back. We had the time to change the oxygen bottles. We prepared on the ground, and we made a safe landing. So everything's fine. Everything's good. So let's have a good breakfast. So I couldn't believe what I was hearing there. And in the same moment, then the rescue team arrived with the camper van, because I had a satellite navigation system. I could just press a button, and they could see me on their cell phones. And I was rescued 20 minutes later, and we were sitting on breakfast. Wow. In Forks in Australia, and that was really surreal experience. I never.
Does that mean you do not want to go again, or do you want to go again?
For me, it's especially now when it's recognized from Guinness Book of World Records as the first jump of a skydiver inside the jet stream. That was the main goal, to make this happen, and to really highlight the jet stream as a potential source of new clean energy. For me, the story is over here, and I think I would stay on the ground. I promised that to my family.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure if I can keep the promise forever, but for now, I would like to change the adventure part, and I would like to go into production lines of documentaries with exactly the same spirit of exploration and new clean technology in a combination. And so I would like to be a producer now. We are creating a company together with a BBC filmmaker, with Claudia von Planta, and with a third guy. He comes from the financing part. It's a really fantastic story you can tell if you have this adventure exploration part together with a higher sense. And that's what I'm aiming now for.
And that sounds like a beautiful mission. So you want to put more attention to other people who have similar crazy ideas and projects and document that.
Yeah, exactly. So the next story will be underwater, and we are working with the best divers in the world. We have a fantastic storyline to bring attention to all the new possibilities where you can bring out energy out of the water, out of the rivers, of the sea. And this combination between the divers and this new storyline of clean energy from the water, it's a mind-blowing story already now.
One last question before we wrap it up would be, like, what's your biggest lesson on a personal level that you take away from this whole experience?
I think the best lesson for me, and that's a lesson I can share as a keynote speaker now, is especially nowadays, we see that there are risks around us we were not even aware of some months ago. And I think if you're scared of a career step or of an own adventure, you sometimes have to convince yourself that you just go step by step. And at the end, you maybe reach the goal, which is not as important, because the journey itself is so fantastic if you find the courage to really go into the direction you feel in your heart. And so the main message is, don't think you're too small. Don't think your team is too small. Don't think you don't have the budget. Just go for it. And I think if you can ignite the fire in your team, in different people, then you can really achieve goals you never imagined before. And usually, especially in Switzerland, we have the tradition to set small steps as goals. So it must be realistic goals. And I'm sure that realistic goals are absolutely bastards, because you have to reach them. And if you don't reach realistic goals, you are a loser. So set your goals higher. And I can tell you the exact point where you should aim. If you just raise the bar a bit higher, a bit higher, a bit higher, and then it sounds a bit ridiculous. So you have to smile, because it's so high, the goal. That's exactly the point where you should aim. Because then the goal itself starts to glow as a star, as a real passionate thing to achieve. And so, but what I read in management boards is always, you have to set realistic goals. No, you don't. Why? It's always the better story if you have an ambitious, crazy, funny goal and you don't reach that goal at the end. At least it's a story. If you have realistic goals and you do not reach them, it's not a story. It's not even a story.
It's true, and I think it even limits you in a sense that, for my personal story, for example, for the 2002 Olympics, which was my second Olympics, I just wanted to qualify for the Olympics, basically, and then hopefully make a final. But the goal that was in my mind was to qualify. So it was like, once I had qualified, like the energy went out of the balloon, kind of. And I wasn't, if I had said I want to be the Olympic champion like I did in 98, then I would have come with a whole different, and it would have been unrealistic. I mean, could have happened, but I'm sure I would have come with more energy and more enthusiasm and be able to bring more people along with me on that adventure, like he's done. Thank you for sharing this story. I think it's a time where we really need stories like yours.
I think especially nowadays, everyone realizes that we are surrounded by surprising dangers, and I think we have to be courageous anyway. And there are people dying all the time. So we will die at the end as well. Me as a motivational speaker, do not talk about dying, but yes, we should talk about dying because that's what will happen to every one of us. The question is, what are you doing in between? And if you have the choice of two different paths in your life, just take the one that uses a little bit more of courage. If you have two options, take the one with a slightly higher risk.
Yeah, beautiful.
On my side, I hope the Jetstream adventure will inspire many more pioneers to step into this field of sustainable energy, and I'm so glad to be part of this mission.